Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker is here. The third and I believe final film in this new rebooted trilogy. I thought there was going to be some more films coming next decade. I don't know what's happening with those, if they're coming at all or whatever, but I think this is going to be like the wrapping up of this trilogy right here. And I've got to say, it's been somewhat pretty underwhelming thus far. I've not really been the biggest fan of this new reboot of the trilogy. The first one was pretty good. It was fine, I guess. I would never really watch it again. But then Last Jedi came round, and Rian Johnson, became a very infamous director. Let's just say it like that. There was a great divide between the critics and the fans, the hardcore fans of Star Wars and The Last Jedi. If you go to a website like Rotten Tomatoes, you'll see the huge gap between the Rotten Tomatoes score, like the critic score, and then the audience score. And even just without that, just generally talking to Star Wars fans and the hardcore fan base, they ain't too happy with how Rian Johnson handled that film. And I've got to be honest, look, the thing is that as good as the original trilogy is, to me it's not flawless. I don't think of them as being like the greatest films of all time or whatever, so I'm not going into every Star Wars film with that kind of expectation. So for me, The Last Jedi, yeah, I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was pretty bad, but I wasn't like expecting anything more than what I got anyway. And even despite the fact that they had a directorial change once again for this film, I am not entirely sure why there was even a directorial change anyway. Why would you have a trilogy of films and switch the directors in between? Maybe there was some other things going on there. I have no clue. But despite the fact that J.J. Abrams came back for this film, I still had no hopes, really. And to be honest, I'm pretty glad I didn't have any expectations, because the film came out pretty meh overall anyway. Which is a huge shame, actually, because I thought initially when this film came on, I was enjoying it. I thought there were some really fun moments. I thought the build-up to what was going to happen, even it was predictable as hell, by the way. Like, I just saw so many things coming throughout the plot anyway, but I just thought that initial start to the film was really strong. They were utilizing the best characters in the film really well. Oscar Isaac, I think, has always been one of the best parts of this trilogy. He had a pretty big role throughout the film, which I was happy to see. It was pretty much just the setup point of the film where they were all attempting to, discover what exactly they needed to do to once again defeat Kylo Ren, pretty much mirroring the original trilogy. I don't know if Star Wars fans have figured this out yet, but there really isn't much originality to any of these new films at all. Look, I'm not trying to talk down on the fan base or anything like that. I don't like doing that, but seriously, like, at least, I'll say that The Last Jedi is bad, okay? But at least it tried to do something slightly different. I respect Rian Johnson for taking it in a slightly new direction than what the other two films have done, because they have just mirrored what we've already seen from the classic films. I just don't get what they're offering, honestly. Here we have once again the big reveal later on in the film, which was so bloody obvious. Honestly, I thought that Rey actually was going to be related to Kylo Ren, but of course they couldn't do the exact same thing again, so they had to, make her the granddaughter of the Emperor. Oh, what a shock, man. We've never seen that before. They didn't do that. They didn't do that in the original trilogy. No, there was no related. There was no family. Nothing like that happened. There was no famous scene where Darth Vader tells Luke something really, really important. That never happened. No. Stormtroopers flying around suddenly, getting the ability to fly. We never saw that in the original ones. Boba Fett and Jango Fett, they couldn't fly. That was never a thing, was it? No, of course not. The evil mastermind of Kylo Ren attempting to bring Rey to the dark side, tempting her to join the forces of the evil nature of the dark side, never happened in the original, did it? That didn't happen. No, Luke was never tempted to join the dark side. That wasn't a thing. Nah, that didn't happen. And even despite all the cynicism I'm going through here, I know I probably sound like a bit of a dick, but just generally the film was just frustrating all around. I mean, occasionally there was some good humor. C-3PO had a few good moments, and Oscar Isaac's character Poe also had a few good moments. There was some great action scenes, of course. I expect that going into every Star Wars film, to be honest, anyway. That backflip that Rey does as well and slices the ship, that was sick as fuck. But the film generally just ended up being so ridiculously busy, and somehow so little ended up happening. Like, there was one moment in the film where you suspect Chewbacca is dead. The legendary character of Chewbacca, potentially dead, and the characters just kind of go about their day and they barely even, respond to it at all. And then pretty much like 2 or 3 scenes later, he's found alive anyway. And it was just like such a pointless thing to throw in. I hate that films do this. You either go all the way, or you just do something different that isn't so predictable and obvious. Like, why did they do that? The complete lack of care from the characters was so bizarre. Like, initially they had this, extreme reaction of sadness, and then it just left. It just evaporated. It was so odd. Same with C-3PO, where he willingly, wipes his memory because conveniently he can't read out this thing that's very important to the film because it's written in the Sith language, and for some reason he's not allowed to read anything that's in Sith or whatever. So of course that frustratingly delays the film, just so that they have to find a way to read this message. And so what they do is they wipe his brain, his memory of everything, and again, they just don't really seem to care that much. They just do it, and nothing about it really has any impact. Like, he seems to quickly realize who everyone is. Like, there is just no aftermath of the memory being wiped. It was so odd. And pretty much once you've got past the point, I mean, for me anyway, of finding out that she is in fact a Palpatine, that film plateaued for me. Like, at that point, because it was so unsurprising and unfulfilling, I kind of just lost interest. Like, that entire section of the film afterwards just did nothing for me. I was kind of glazed over, not really focusing on what was going on, because I just didn't really care. It just hits a point where you just kind of realize that you know where the film's going to go. Like, there's no shock value to anything. It is just so safe. The entire film is just ridiculously safe. Rey has an unbelievable amount of power in which she can just do everything. Like, everything. There is nothing she can't do. So at that point, you're just not really caring about the film because you know how it's going to end. She's going to save everyone and it's going to be all okay. I suppose Kylo Ren ultimately turning good and helping her was a bit of a surprise, I suppose, but, it just kind of undoes everything that he'd done in previous 2 films and what he'd done in this film for the first 3 quarters or whatever. It just kind of gets all unraveled and it just loses its purpose, really. And she manages to just magically get the lightsaber for Kylo Ren at that point in the film where she's needing help. And I think it's meant to be Princess Leia's old lightsaber, but where does it come from and how does she do that? I just, things like this in the film just make me think about how the original trilogy did this type of stuff so much better. Because Luke wasn't invincible. You were watching the films thinking, can he do it? Has he really got it in him to defeat Darth Vader, to defeat the Empire? Has he got it in him? Because he's not as strong as he wants to be. Whereas Rey just has this unlimited source of power that just is completely unrelatable. She's not a particularly very interesting character to begin with anyway, I'm not going to lie. I don't really find her that engaging to watch. But with that added on, I just don't really care about what she's able to do because I know she can do it. There's just no relatability at all. You just know that she's got the access to do anything, so you can't really root for her because you just know she's going to do it anyway. I'm just struggling with the appeal to these. I don't know if they're going to age well at all. In 10 years, are people really going to be talking about these 3 films? Particularly this one, because coming after The Last Jedi, I just feel like J.J. Abrams was just completely pressured to unravel some of the things that happened in that film just so this film could be a fan pleaser, and with doing that it just ended up doing nothing new, nothing exciting. It's certainly a fan pleaser, but it's certainly probably the safest Star Wars film to ever exist. And at least with the prequels, they're kind of funny, so you can get some really awful entertainment value out of them. This film is just incredibly uninspired and dull, so I have no real interest in it. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go 5 out of 10. It's certainly not the worst thing I've ever seen, so I can't really go negative, but it is just so plain and blah. Do let me know what you think of this film, though. If you disagree or agree or whatever, let me know in the comments. I'm interested to see what people think this time around. Thank you for everything you wanted out of this new trilogy. Did you expect more? Let me know. I'm interested. Get a discussion in the comments going. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you're ready. Have a good day, and goodbye.